Let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Suresh Govindachetty. I work as a senior solutions engineer with Sumo Logic, and in today's session, I'm going to show you how you can do troubleshooting using Sumo Logic observability platform. Before we get started with the live demo, some housekeeping stuff. We have a Q&A button in the webinar. Please feel free to raise any questions that you have, and at the end of the webinar, I will be answering your questions. And we also share the webinar video with you post the session, so you can always review it post this particular session timings. So having said that, let's jump on to the live demo using Sumo Logic. So it all begins with an alert that I am getting in my alerting system, which is Slack. And here I can see there is an incoming alert. There is a application which we use for this particular live demo today. So this is a coffee preparation machine where people order coffee, they buy stuff, etc. So here we find regular issues which happen in the system, which requires the team to be on top of the issues as well as monitor it and then troubleshoot it and then keep very high levels of availability. So in this particular case, I see that for this particular demo system, the coffee machine, there is some alert over here, and alert says that there is a coffee prep time which is actually increasing. And I can see the description which shows the time on which this particular alert happened, the time duration, the trigger condition, which shows that the latency is actually very high in the last 5 minutes. And you can see the query which has actually caused this particular alert to be triggered. So all I need to do is I just need to click this particular alert URL, which takes me to my system for doing all my troubleshooting in this particular system. So here I can see the Sumo Logic interface actually coming up now, and then I can see my coffee prep time actually increasing over here. So here I can see the alert ID, when was this particular alert created, and what this alert is all about, which shows generally a coffee prep time is actually increasing for me. I see that this alert is already resolved. So we have a mechanism by which we track all the alerts, and once we see the error condition resolving, you can see the alert is shown as closed over here. And you can see the alert condition, what is actually causing this alert to be triggered. And you can see the triggered query, which is monitoring the critical parameter over here. In this particular case, it is latency that I'm measuring over here. And I can clearly see that somewhere around this 5:30 time frame, I can see my latency jumping up. It has stayed up for quite some time, post which it has actually resolved back to the normal. So I see the alert is actually resolved now. If I come down a little bit, I can see the log messages here. The log messages shows that the various different logs over here. If required, I can launch my view in log search, and then I can go through all of these logs for troubleshooting. Below this, I can see my alert context. There are anomalies which are actually related to these alerts. So there are events of interest that are related to this particular alert. And I can see there are 3 anomalies across 3 different entities which are actually shown over here. Right, and I can clearly see that there are anomalies which are shown for various different related systems. And these are like a couple of them are errors, some of them are related to the load, etc. And I can open up my root cause explorer, which will actually open up those entities for showing me the interrelationships where I can do all my troubleshooting. You can also see the log fluctuations over here. This is basically for comparing the log activity for this alert between multiple different time ranges. You can see 1 hour before versus now. You can see how many log entries are new, how many are missing, how many are changed, etc., which helps me to understand like how my system is actually changing using logs compared now versus a time frame before. This is something very similar to an change management sort of a concept where things have been working well, but now things are not working well. What has actually changed? So this log fluctuations will help me to understand like what is actually changing in the system. Let's look at a couple of other interesting things over here. I can see my related alerts over here. So this shows me that what are the alerts which are related to this particular alert I am seeing now here, as well as I can go back to my monitor history. So the monitor history shows me whether these alerts have been repeating, have I been facing similar sort of issues always, etc. Here I can see it has been repeating, etc. But these sort of alerts are difficult to troubleshoot, especially when they happen during little odd hours like morning 3:30 a.m. in the morning, etc. So to help ease all of this, Sumo Logic provides you playbooks. So playbooks contain the steps that the on-call engineer or the SRE needs to take when they are faced with these sort of issues. So here you can see the playbook clearly telling us what needs to be done to investigate this particular issue as well as take an action. So here I can see isolate the service that has a latency, identify the root cause, etc. So to get more details, I'm going to follow my playbook here. So top-down observability dashboard, I'm just clicking it. Now I can see the dashboard opening up in the Sumo Logic platform. So this particular dashboard is going to show me my services from the top-down view. So here I can see my top-down observability shows me my critical KPIs, how they have been over a period of time. Here I can see my options where I can choose any time duration that I want for observing all my critical parameters. So here I can see filtering options over here where I can filter it by various different services, etc. You can set up all of them over here. Here I can see my business overview, my application services. I can see my Kubernetes infrastructure. I can see the status of my nodes, my pods, as well as CPU usage per node, per pod by namespace. I can see all of them over here, including my cloud infrastructure. So here I am actually seeing my real user monitoring page load times. I'm going to go ahead and then look out for the last 24 hours to see how my real user monitoring has been behaving. So here I can clearly see a spike here, which basically means that there's a lot of latency with respect to my page load times. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go and check what is actually happening, why there is a increased load. So here I can clearly see a spike in the summary page, and I can see my average browser time to load is actually showing up a spike here. I am going to my related entities and I'm seeing the coffee bar app over here. I can simply go here and then open up the entity dashboard, which opens up this particular app. So here you can see that how easy it is for me to navigate between my dashboards, my logs, my metrics. So I can simply pivot from one system to another. So here you can see the real user monitoring overview for the application. And I'm looking at my page load times, top browsers, top operating systems, etc. Here I can see my website performance, and I can clearly see there is a jump with respect to accessing my particular web pages. I can come down further. It shows me my paint times. It shows my requests per second. It shows all of this to me. Now, what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to go to look into the health of my applications across all these particular services. So this shows me my latencies. You can see the honeycomb views here, which clearly show me the health of my various different services. So you can also see the requests here. You can see the error percentages. Just by hovering my mouse on top of this, I can see various different health parameters. I can come down to the health application details, which shows me my latency, error percentage, requests. I can get an overview and summary of all of them over here. So here I can see my latencies over a period of time. Here my latency actually shows that there is a sudden jump with respect to the latency. I can clearly see the coffee machine showing up here, jump with respect to the latency. So this is the application which I am concerned about. So I'm going to open this particular application. By clicking about it, I can see the summary coming up over here. I can clearly see there is a jump with respect to my latency. You can see the metrics, surveys. If you want, you can go to the linked dashboards to do further troubleshooting. If I go to the entities, I can clearly see that there is a coffee machine, the coffee bar app. I can see all of them over here. So I'm actually going to go here and then going to open up my traces because I want to see like what is actually causing this particular latency inside the coffee machine. So I'm going to just click traces, and then that is going to take me to my application traces over here. So here I can see all the traces over here. You can see the query, which is choosing the application and then the service. You can see the trace ID here, the root service, the root operation name, when did this particular trace start, what is the duration of this particular trace. You can see the number of spans. You can see the breakdown. Just by hovering my mouse on top of this, I can see all the services which are actually part of this particular trace. You can see the number of errors as well as the status. What I'm going to do here is that I'm going to sort out this by duration. So when I do the sorting out by the duration, now I can see all my requests, which are sorted by the maximum time which is actually taking. Here I can see there are seconds being taken for a couple of, I would say, the traces. So I would like to take a closer look at the traces. So I'm going to open up one of the traces over here. So here I can see a lot of interesting details over here. I can see the coffee machine is taking 45% of the time. You can see the coffee bar is 31, the front end, and all the other services. And I also see the various different spans, which is actually part of this trace. And I can clearly see the flow of the call across my various different services over here. And I see that there is a HTTP post client. I'm going to open up that. So here I can see the error propagating over here. The red bar that you see on top of this particular spans, that shows there is an error which is actually propagating backwards. So here I can see the summary of this particular HTTP post request. So here I can see my span ID. For any troubleshooting, I can just copy it and I can use it across my queries. I can see the trace ID, where this particular service is, the operation, the span, the parent span. You can see when did this particular transaction start, end, what is the status of it. You can see the HTTP method, URL, all of them over here. So I can look at all of this particular details just at a glance of it. So I can go to my related entities over here, and I can see, I can easily navigate to all the related entities. I can see the coffee machine here. I can see the coffee bar, the coffee machine. I can look at the pods which are part of the service. I can go to any of these related entities just by going to this entities file over here. So I'm looking at this particular pod, and I can clearly see there is a sudden jump with respect to my CPU utilization, my memory, etc. So what I'm going to do here is that I can actually go ahead and I can open up this particular pod. So I'm going to open up here. I want to go and find out what is actually causing the problems. The various different metrics that we see, those are like smoke detectors. The metrics tell us that something is going bad. Something like I'm running a high temperature. So the metric tells me that something is wrong, but it does not tell me why there is a high temperature. So the why is hidden inside the logs. So to find out the root cause of it, I'm actually going to go and look into my logs. All that is required is I go to my entities, I come here and then I click the log search. Now I can see the system opening up the log search. You can see the details are pre-filled and readily available for you. It shows a cluster, it shows a namespace, it shows a pod, also autofills the timeline, which is actually used for troubleshooting. And here I can see all my logs are actually aggregated together. I can see around 52 log entries over here. I can go through all of these logs to understand, but I can also do another easier thing, which is like log reduce. Log reduce is a patented technology from Sumo Logic. And what log reduce does is that it groups the logs into patterns, which we call as signatures. So here you can see the system has already grouped all these 52 logs into the patterns or signatures here. Here you can see there are 25 logs of this particular type. And here you can clearly see the error here, which is a thread is stuck in the kernel module for 1800 seconds. So this seems to be the problem, which is actually causing my application to be running very slow. And here you can see the other logs over here. The stars show the variable. So these are the variables, and then these are the grouping of the logs, which helps me to quickly segregate the source from all the noise which is actually happening over here. So what I can do here, another thing is that I can go to my log compare to see how was my system before versus now. It is something like I know my system has been doing well, but now it is not working. Let me go and check how was it before, maybe 2 hours before, 4 hours before, or 1 day before, etc. I can do any sort of time comparisons here. I can even compare between prod and then the dev environments, version 1 versus version 2. I can do all these comparisons. In this particular case, I'm going to compare 2 hours before because I know that before 2 hours, my application is running fine. So I'm just giving the run option here. Now, what is happening in the background is the system is doing a log compare functionality. So it is taking the current logs, creates the patterns. It also goes back 2 hours in the time. It picks up the logs and creates the patterns. And more importantly, compares this to environment and tells me what is the difference between them. And here I can clearly see that there are around 25 log entries, and the status is shown as new here. The new essentially means that this type of logs was not there before, but then now we are seeing it new. So this shows that this is the error or the new condition which is seen between the working and the non-working environment. So in the non-working environment or the problem time, I am seeing this particular log, which are these errors. But whereas when my system was running good, I did not see this particular errors at all. So now that I know what is actually causing a problem, I can go back and then I can check the error condition and I can focus on resolving this error and then keep very high levels of availability for my application. So let's take a quick summary of what we did today. So it all starts with receiving an alert over here. So I got an alert. I'm going to click this alert, which takes me to my Sumo Logic interface. And from here, I can make use of the powerful Sumo Logic monitors. The monitor shows me all the context around which this particular error has actually happened. I can see clearly when this particular happened, what is the query which is actually triggering it. I can see the log messages, and I can see my alert context as well, the related entities. And more importantly, I can see the history of my particular monitor. If this has repeated, have I faced this problem before? I can look at all of them over here. So I can also look at things like my standard response, which is like I can look into my the playbook, which basically tells me like what is the action that we need to do when I see the error appearing. So here I can see the steps which is clearly documented. It shows how to resolve this particular error. This is especially helpful for your SRE teams, where they can go and then we can know what action needs to be taken when an alert happens in the mid of the night or early in the morning, 3 a.m. sort of a troubleshooting scenarios. So from here, I can open up my top-down observability dashboards, and using those various different options which are available in the dashboards, I can seamlessly navigate between my logs, my metrics, my traces, as well as events. I can get to the root cause of my issue by looking into the logs, by using the log reduce, and I can compare the environments, two different environments using my log compare, and I can quickly identify what is actually causing my application to be running pretty slow. And now that I know why my application is actually running slow, I can focus on fixing this application and then maintaining very high levels of availability. Right, so that's a quick walkthrough of the troubleshooting scenario, which basically shows you the Sumo Logic alert response capabilities, navigation between logs, metrics, traces, and events, as well as how you can troubleshoot quickly and then resolve issues using Sumo Logic as a DevSecOps platform. Let us now get on to the Q&A section over here to see if there are any questions. Yes. So there is a question which is asking about how are these dashboards created? Are these out-of-the-box dashboards, or do we need to create them? So thank you for asking this good question. So what you're seeing now, there are a lot of dashboards which are out of the box. Especially we have solutions for monitoring your Kubernetes stack. We have mechanisms by which we can automatically identify all your critical services as well as show the status of them. So here you can see the service map over here, which shows the status of all your services. These are auto-discovered. It shows the flow of traffic from one of your modules to the other modules. So you can see all of them over here. So there's a lot of content which is out of the box. You can also create your own content using Sumo Logic. So you can create all your dashboards and you can link them to the various different services as well. Let's look at the other question. Yeah, so how is the Sumo Logic solution priced? So the Sumo Logic solution is priced based on the amount of data that you ingest into the platform. This is typically like the amount of data in the form of GBs, like 10 GB per day, 50 GB per day, 100 GB per day, etc. There are customers who ingest multi-terabyte of data into Sumo Logic. The good thing about Sumo Logic is that we provide you a credits-based model. The credits can be used across the platform, irrespective of whether you ingest logs, metrics, or traces, or any of those audit logs, etc. So the same credit can be used across all the services that are available across Sumo Logic. And these credits are available throughout your year. So you don't even have to worry about spike in the ingestions of various different data into the platform, etc. So using that, you can monitor your entire stack using Sumo Logic, and you can get complete visibility into your platform, irrespective of whether your data is. Your data can be in the cloud, it can be on-prem, it can be hybrid or multi-cloud as well. So feel free to get back to us either through our reseller or through our sales team or to Sumo Logic. We are happy to partner with you to see how we can use Sumo Logic to solve all your business use cases. Looks like there are no more questions. Thank you for joining the webinar today. We will be sharing the recording to all of you. Feel free to reach out to us. We provide 30 days free trial. You can go to sumologic.com and you can subscribe to the free trial and you can experience the complete power of the Sumo Logic platform. Thank you for joining the webinar today. I wish you all a very good day.